Keanu Reeves had always been a night wanderer. Something about the stillness of the world after dark gave him peace, a rare kind that was hard to find in the chaos of Hollywood. One evening, after wrapping up a late shoot in San Francisco, he decided to take a walk instead of heading straight to his hotel. The streets were quiet, the neon glow of streetlights reflecting off the damp pavement. A faint, distant sound of a train whistle echoed through the empty streets. There hadn't been an active train line in this part of the city for decades. Keanu followed the sound through dimly lit alleys, past shuttered storefronts, and onto a narrow path between two abandoned buildings. Hidden in the shadows, an old train platform stood, barely held together by time. At its center, a black locomotive sat, steam curling into the air. People moved toward the train, their faces etched with a quiet solemnity. Some wore old-fashioned clothes. Others looked worn, as if carrying a lifetime of sorrow. A tall man in a conductor's uniform stood near the entrance, eyes sharp, watching. "You lost, so?" Keanu hesitated, looking at the train, the passengers, the impossibility of it all. "I didn't know there was a train station here." The conductor reached into his coat and pulled out a silver ticket. "One ride. No cost." Keanu took the ticket and stepped aboard. Inside, the train smelled of old leather and rain-soaked streets. Passengers sat in silence, staring out into a darkness that seemed endless. Across from him, a woman in a tattered coat clutched an old photograph. Beside her, an elderly man whispered a name under his breath, over and over. "Where is this train going?" The woman barely looked up. "Wherever it needs to." The train jolted forward. Outside, the world shifted. Through the windows, Keanu saw glimpses of places out of time. A 1920s jazz club with golden light flickering past, a foggy battlefield frozen in motion, a futuristic skyline of towering structures. "The train finds those with unfinished journeys," the woman murmured. Keanu frowned. "I'm not lost." The woman's smile was sad. "Aren't you?" The train slowed. Outside, a familiar street stretched out, a small bookstore, warm light spilling onto the sidewalk. His mother stood by the entrance, just as he remembered her. She had passed away decades ago. The conductor appeared beside him. "Everyone gets one stop. If you leave, you can't come back." Keanu stayed, his heart pounding. The chance to say something he never got to. But he knew this wasn't for him. "Not yet. Not my stop." The conductor smiled. "Then enjoy the ride." The train continued, moving through memories, places lost to time. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Then, suddenly, it stopped. Keanu stepped onto the platform. The train let out a final whistle before disappearing into the night. The next morning, the platform was gone. No tracks, no sign it had ever been there. Only the silver ticket remained in his pocket. Years passed. Keanu continued acting, giving back, wandering the streets on quiet nights. And sometimes he'd hear the distant whistle. One evening, in a city far from San Francisco, he heard it again. The same black locomotive, a different conductor, but the same piercing gaze. The silver ticket was still in his pocket, untouched, waiting. The conductor tipped his hat, ready for another ride. Keanu looked at the train, at the passengers boarding once more. And this time, he stepped forward. The train's interior was different from before. This time, the seats were upholstered in deep red velvet, and the air was filled with a soft hum of distant music. A low murmur of conversation rippled through the passengers, though none seemed to be speaking directly to one another. The sense of timelessness was stronger now. Keanu ran his fingers along the silver ticket, feeling its cool surface as he moved deeper into the car. A woman in a dark green dress caught his eye. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, her hands resting gently on a leather-bound journal. She seemed to be waiting for something, though her expression betrayed little. "You're back," she said without looking up. Keanu paused. "Have we met?" "Not officially," she replied, finally meeting his gaze. "But everyone who rides this train long enough sees the same faces eventually. We're all searching for something. A missing moment. A lost piece of ourselves. What are you searching for?" Her lips curled into a faint smile. "Answers." Keanu sat across from her. Outside the window, The scenery changed again. They passed through what looked like an ancient village, its streets lined with lanterns that flickered with an unnatural glow. Then, a vast ocean, stretching endlessly beneath a sky filled with stars that seemed too close. "Do you ever find them?" Keanu asked. The woman turned her gaze back to the journal. "Sometimes, but the answers only lead to more questions." The train suddenly lurched, the lights flickering. A hush fell over the passengers. The air grew colder, heavy with an unseen weight. The conductor appeared in the doorway of the car, his sharp eyes scanning the room. "We have a guest tonight," he announced. Keanu felt an unease settle over him. "A guest?" The conductor nodded. "One who doesn't belong." A soft whisper filled the train, a sound like wind through dead leaves. From the far end of the car, a figure emerged, its form shifting like smoke, faceless yet unmistakably present. The other passengers turned away, avoiding its gaze. Keanu felt a strange pull, a tug at something deep within his mind. The woman in green placed a hand on his arm. "Don't look at it too long," she warned. The figure drifted closer. The lights dimmed further. Keanu could hear something beneath the whisper, a voice, faint, fragmented. "Keanu." His breath caught. The voice was familiar. "Come with me." The figure extended a hand. The silver ticket in Keanu's palm grew hot. The train shuddered as if caught between two forces. The conductor stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "You must choose, Mr. Reeves." The train doors opened. Outside, a platform unlike any before waited. It stretched into a fog that shimmered like liquid silver. Keanu looked at the figure, at the platform, at the other passengers who refused to meet his eyes. "What happens if I go?" The woman in green whispered, "You won't come back." Keanu exhaled slowly, staring into the unknown, and he made his choice. As he stepped forward, the train began to tremble. The passengers stirred, their faces unreadable. The figure's smoky form solidified slightly, revealing glimmers of something almost human, a face he nearly recognized. Time seemed to slow, the air thick with expectation. Keanu clenched the silver ticket. What lay beyond the misted platform? Would he find the answer, or become another whisper in the train's eternal journey? One step more, and the door closed behind him. Beyond the platform, Keanu found himself in a vast, dreamlike city. The buildings shimmered, made of light and memory. Shadows moved through the streets, echoes of lives long past. He felt himself drawn forward, toward a towering structure where a figure waited. It was time to uncover the truth of his journey.